Hi everyone, welcome to the introduction of my intermediate ParkJet build series. So if you've been following my channel or if you haven't, essentially this series we're going to go step by step through building a NAMC MiG-35B, one of these beasts right here, which has starred on my channel for many years. So I essentially have actually already shot a video in this series quite a while ago. And I'm going to make that part two. It was actually called Tips on How I Prepare to Build. And in that series, I had talked about building this airplane downsized with quite a few modifications and out of Dollar Tree foam and et cetera, et cetera. So what I've decided is, as I've mentioned probably already in a few other videos, I'm going to build this full size, so just like this one, 27-inch wingspan. I'm going to build it out of primarily model plane foam. I will use paperless Dollar Tree foam for my KF4 airfoils. Essentially what I want to do in this series is just share my techniques and my lessons learned for building a score and fold ParkJet, you know, with sort of this three-dimensional type fuselage and thing. I've built close to close to 90 ParkJets in the last 6 years or so, I think. So lots of lessons learned there, a lot of trial and error, very heavy on the error, especially in the first year or so. So that's primarily what I want to share with you are those techniques, depending on where you're at in your build experience, build career. So for those of you that have been building ParkJets for a while, I'm certainly not in any way trying to insult your intelligence or force my techniques or my setups down your throat. Simply just want to share what I like to use, what has worked for me over building in the last 5 years or 4 years, especially building ParkJets that have performed really well and also lasted a long time. If you're fairly new to ParkJets, I will have linked down below a video series called my Beginner ParkJet Build Series, where I built a profile RC Powers MiG-29 version 1, which is a pretty simple, straightforward build, and I talk about some of the basic techniques in there. So some of the techniques, again, depending on where you are, they may seem oversimplified. If we're getting into some stuff maybe and you feel like it's going over your head, then maybe go back and check that beginner series. I will also have, I will have, you don't necessarily need to build this airplane, hopefully to learn from this series. But if you're interested, I will have the link to where you can get the plans down below. I'll also have a link to kind of the intro video that I shot when this plane was released, which has a pretty basic ParkJet setup series, or setup. 6 9-gram servos, the good old reliable 2212 2200 kV motor. Now initially I was planning I was going to modify where the motor goes and etc. etc. I decided that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to build this completely stock so that none of those talk about mods and anything else get in the way. I have done plenty of modifications to many other ParkJets, so if you have any questions about that, please let me know. This one, I did move the motor forward by about 1 inch, and I have written a blog post on how I went about doing that. So if you're interested in doing that, please check out the description below. I'll have a link to that. Also, I have another video series called Intermediate ParkJet Setup Series, where I sort of talk about my thoughts on what control surfaces to use, what KFs to use, etc., etc. So please go check that out if you're trying to come up with ideas to suit how you build and how you want your plane to fly. I have a ParkJet Workshop series. I'm sorry if I keep shoving down all these things down your throat, but anyway, if you have a lot more questions, you can go find. It's still fairly current. My ParkJet Workshop series is still fairly current, although the videos are about a year and a half old, but it talks in detail about the foams that I use, the glue, the tape, paint, sanding, servos, etc., etc. So please, if you have any questions about that, you can go check that out. Now you don't have to build certainly, the way that I'm going to build. I will do one slight modification to the leading edge of the motor mount, because eventually in mine I will probably put a quad racing motor in it. But initially I am going to build it with the 2212 2200 kV motor setup, kind of the ParkJet workhorse. And the reason being is that I want to do some more, after it's done, I want to do some more, sort of sitting here talking to you about, how I do basic aerobatics, loops, rolls, things like that, and then demonstrate that at the field. And I think it will be a lot easier to do, with a power setup that, the thing's not doing warp 11 like it would be, with a quad racing motor setup. So, so we'll go through that. Because based on some input that I had when I posed a question quite a while back, I will be releasing the videos as they come out. Initially I was going to shoot them all and then release the entire playlist at once. So please be patient with me. If a week or 2 weeks goes by before the next video comes out, please bear with me. On this video, if you have any, because it's going to be probably a week, couple weeks before we start getting into the actual, nuts and bolts of the build. Please leave any questions or comments down below. If there are specific techniques that you want to see me demonstrate in this video series, if I can, I will certainly do that. So please leave those down below, and I'll do my best to do that. Again, some of the stuff, depending on where you're at, might be a bit oversimplified, but I'm hoping to cover most of the bases so that I don't have to continually answer the same question over and over. And you certainly don't have to do the finishing and everything else that I'm going to do. But it's just kind of the way some of this will obviously be based on my preferences, since it's going to be a plane that I'm going to fly. You also don't have to use the same motor setup, servos, anything like that. On the intro plane and all the testing, I used 9-gram nylon gear servos. I will probably build to keep things light, will build with 9-gram servos for my elevons, 5-gram servos for my rudders and my ailerons, just to keep things light. If you are going to build the MiG-35, it has, I like to fly it. I find its best performance on a 3S battery. I use 2200 3S batteries. Is in around anywhere between 19.5, 21 ounces. Although it will fly, even with this 2200 motor, it will fly up to about 25 ounces. But I encourage you, especially if you've, depending on where you are in your ParkJet career, to try and get used to building your planes as light as possible. Biggest mistakes that I ever made were building my planes way too heavy. In fact, I'll have a link to a video down below. I shot the 10 biggest beginner mistakes I made in ParkJets. So there we go. Like I said, I'm not trying to force any of my techniques or this airplane or anything else down your throat. I'm hoping to just try and demonstrate the things that have worked for me. I will be building it full size, as I've mentioned, and I'll be building it with model plane foam. Pardon me, not Dollar Tree foam, other than the paperless Dollar Tree foam for the KFs. One other thing about the MiG-35, if you're going to build it, is KFs. Is I would suggest either building with KF4, where the airfoil's top and bottom of the wing, or no KFs. And the reason I say that is this particular airframe in general, or of this particular airframe specifically, I should say, does not seem to perform really well with KF2. Pardon me, when I was testing the prototype, it felt very mushy and not anywhere near as precise as we wanted it to be. In fact, it was more precise with no KF. So if you are going to go with a KF Klein-Fogelman airfoil configuration, I would highly suggest going with a KF4. So there we go. I'm excited to get into this series. Like I said, I don't, it could be some time gaps in between videos. Once I get going into the build, they could be coming, fairly rapidly. I'm not 100% sure because I can't look into the future and know what's going to be going on in my life. But there we go. So like I said before, if you have anything you want me to demonstrate, please comment or ask the question down below this video. And if you want to learn more, check out all those other playlists that I mentioned. Lots of stuff there, hopefully, that will help you out and help answer some of your questions about how I build and set up my park jets. So thanks as always for watching and for your kind support to my channel. Blue skies, calm winds to everyone. Park jet noise, the other sound of freedom, baby. Take care.